Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. What an embarrassment. What an embarrassment. Eric Molina, never want to see him again. And I said ahead of the fight, he was in that camp where we didn't need to see him. He would lay down, find a spot, and it would be a farce. And so it proved. So in this video, we're going to cover this farcical nonsense, Eric Molina versus Alen Babic. Also, we'll touch on the fights for Johnny Fisher and Thomas Carty. But to the co-main event of the card that was headlined by Chantel Cameron. So, Eric Molina and Alen Babic. Molina down in the first 5 seconds. The fourth punch landed by Alen Babic. And you thought, yeah, this is only going one way. And ahead of the fight, people were saying to me, Molina was a test. Molina was going to do something. He was a cut above. And I said, look, this guy is washed. He will find a spot on the canvas. And he will make sure that he finds a way out of this. And so we did in round 2. But I guess to his credit, and this is probably where he feels he earned his payday before quitting in the second round, he did actually catch Babic with a number of right hands. Babic was open to them in round 1, and he actually backed Babic up at one point, and Babic sort of backed off for about 20 seconds before sort of continuing his sort of marauding rage, coming forward, swinging for the fences. But that second round, Molina comes out, has a go for about 3 seconds, and then it was all downhill from there, over within 90 seconds of that round beginning. And so 3 knockdowns. And it's almost farcical to call them that, because Molina basically fell over and tried to pick his spot on the canvas to lay down on. And actually it was one of the commentators, guest commentator Kaylee Reese, who said that Molina couldn't decide which of the advertising hoardings on the canvas to choose from to lay down on. And she said it was embarrassing and he wasn't a fighter. And Tony Bellew backed that up and said, look, this has to be the last time that we have Eric Molina over here. But those 3 knockdowns. So the first one, he's complaining that he got punched to the back of the head. And this has been something that Molina in recent years, he bends down basically to the waist and puts his head in the line of fire. And it's hard to criticize Alen Babic and former opponents like Filip Hrgovic when they're throwing punches and Molina's basically ducking down, giving them the side or the back of his head. But on the replay, I went back, it didn't really look like there was anything of note. Molina was just trying to find a way out of the fight. The heart had gone, he was done, and he basically fell down to the canvas. Literally just fell over. The next knockdown, which was the third of the fight, Molina basically sort of slipped and there was a cuffing shot that didn't really land at all. And he was down, given a count, and he was really hamming some of these up like he was actually hurt, when you were like, well, the phantom punches, you're not really taking anything. And that was more so for the third one as well. Literally just sort of fell down to the canvas. It's just that simple. It's embarrassing. Act like he'd been touched by something, touched by the punch of God or something. And he's given a count. He sort of gets up right at the end of the 10 count. And the referee sees him and waves it off, and Molina looks all dejected. Embarrassing. Absolutely embarrassing. Eric Molina should not be back in a big-time fight because he's clearly just there for the payday. And I hate to say it, I predicted this was going to happen. I said he was in that camp where he was going to find a way out. I'd seen this before from him. As soon as things get tough, zero heart, and he wants a way out. And it proved again, and I hate that I'm right for this, but I said this really wasn't much of a step up from Lucas Browne. Lucas Browne, at this point, his durability is his main issue. He'll keep coming forward if he can, but he's got no chin. Eric Molina has got no heart. And that was proved out again in this one. Embarrassing, don't want to see him again. And it was embarrassing in the post-fight interview. Eddie Hearn referred to Eric Molina as a top heavyweight, but then went on to say in the very next breath, literally the very next breath, that it's probably the last payday for him from us. Which, kind of says it all. We didn't need to see this guy recycled, and we don't need to see him again. And if he's being brought out again, let's not try to sort of wax lyrical and sort of just talk him up as some major threat. At the end of the day, he goes in there does enough work that it looks like it's, credible, because he did sort of fight back in that first round, but after about the first 3 seconds of round 2, he was like, no, I've had enough. That's it. That's my night's work. It's over. And Alen Babic advances. What is he now? 9-0, 10-0, something there or thereabouts. So Babic himself, in the post-fight interview, called out Dave Allen. He wants to be back in December. He mentioned that he'd like to be on the Chisora Parker card. Eddie Hearn has also just announced another card with Conor Benn in December, also Katie Taylor on that card. Hearn said maybe that's also a possibility. So we're going to see him back probably by the end of the year. And maybe Dave Allen, this is a fight that both seemingly want to sort of build to. And you got a question as well with Dave Allen, not his heart, but seemingly his durability has been on the decline in recent years as well. He's taken a number of beatings. So if Babic is coming forward and swinging for the fences, maybe that's a more competitive and interesting fight. But also, you have to sort of, what sort of state is Dave Allen in? I mean, he's retired after that David Price fight. He's on a comeback now, but he's fought no one of note so far. So we don't really know where he's at. But it was embarrassing, the end of this fight. And I just hope that Eddie Hearn can actually just, keep his word here, where he said it's probably the last payday from us. Let's hope it is. I mean, he's getting panned by the commentators who were calling the fight, the likes of Bellew and Kaylee Reese, who were, guest commentating. They were sort of thrown to. They said it was embarrassing, and it was. Eric Molina, we don't need to see him again. This guy should retire. He's obviously a joke at this point. I don't think it's his durability. It's his heart. Zero heart shown in that second round. He did well to get out of that first round, given he was dropped in the first 5 seconds. But that was an embarrassing end to this fight. Anyway, I don't want to keep going on about the same thing, so we'll move on to the other couple of heavyweight fights on the card. So, opening up the show, and this was not on the DAZN broadcast, it was before the bell on the Matchroom YouTube channel. So he was facing a Latvian guy, Igor Vasiljevs. And actually, Vasilyevs was a little better than I expected, but Thomas Carty, it was a second pro fight. Southpaw, he's been in the Dillian White camp recently, the Joshua camp, Filip Hrgovic's camp. He's been a much sort of sought-after sparring partner in the past 12 months or so. Given an opportunity here, he faces this guy, Igor Vasilyev, and there were moments where he looked good, but there was also, he was often falling in. There was a lot of clinching in that first round in particular. Also the second, he was, quite physical in terms of trying to rough up his opponent using the forearm. But when he was coming to the inside and sort of smothering his work at times or falling in and clinching, there wasn't a lot of really good inside work. So he definitely looked a lot better at range. When he was taking a step back, he was countering Vasilyevs well. He was actually looking good from distance. So obviously it's early days. It's really hard to sort of read too much into this performance, but there were bright spots, but a work in progress. So yeah, it was what it was in terms of the matchup. Probably a lot of people didn't see it, but it is on that Before the Bell on Matchroom's YouTube channel, so you can catch it there. Johnny Fisher, so probably courtesy of the fact that he sold 1,400 tickets for this fight, and there was a raucous sort of cheer for him anytime he was on screen earlier in the card, or if he came out to the ring in his fight. It was a real cauldron sort of atmosphere for him. Very popular, and he put on a pretty decent performance. Bear in mind, 22 years old, this was his fourth pro fight. Still pretty raw, he's under the tutelage of Mark Tibbs, but he came out there, he was trying to work behind the jab to begin with, but you got a sense that he was going to sort of turn it up at some point. After about half of the first round, he obviously decided he was going to sort of try to launch into Alvaro Terrero. So Terrero has recently fought British prospects like Tommy Welsh and also Solomon Dakers. Dakers stopped him in 4 rounds, and Welsh was taking the distance for over 4 rounds. But here, this was a second round stoppage. Fisher really started to ramp up the pressure and just trying to bully and bulldoze Terrero in that second half of the first round. So after sort of trying to work with the jab, use some feints, and you could see there were improvements, that he has been working on his boxing, that he does look a little bit more fluid, that there were improvements in this performance. But then it kind of went out the window a little bit, where he was like, okay, I'm going into steamroll mode. He came forward, and basically tried to take him out. He was sort of warned between rounds, between the first and the second, look, you got to soften him up a little bit. It was just a little too soon in that first round. So Fischer, he did sort of pick his spots early in that second round, but then basically he just started to swarm him. He was wearing him down, clubbing shots, and I don't necessarily think there was any one shot that really landed flush from Johnny Fischer here, but he's got that sort of power where anything that's landing is hard, it's clubbing, and it was taking a toll on Alvaro Terrero, and he was down multiple times, 3 times, and basically from there, the referee called it off after the third. He gave him a count, didn't like what he saw, but by that stage, the towel had already come in. I don't think the referee saw that. But post-fight, Johnny Fischer said, look, my power was too much for him, but I was trying to work on a few things. We've been doing things in the gym, etc. His trainer, Mark Tibbs, said, look, I have been, working with Johnny on certain things. He is getting better. And Eddie Hearns re-emphasized that, look, he's a young guy, small steps. And he said, just trying to read this quote here, we've got to nurture him in the right way. He'll have a lot of fun nights in the next few years, or something there or thereabouts. So, and he's right. I think with the support base that he's building, and I said in the pre-fight sort of prediction video, Johnny Fischer has obviously sort of got this very sort of understated charisma, but he's clearly developing a bit of a following. Sort of it started off a sort of a grassroots level, but he's kind of a guy that people want to root for. He is sort of humble. He seems real. There's not too much sort of false bravado. He just seems like a down-to-earth sort of guy. And obviously you don't always have to be that sort of trash talker, although that sort of persona also does well in the heavyweight division. He's sort of doing his own thing, and it is seemingly to resonate. And certainly it seemed to be the biggest cheers of the night were for him. Anyway, we'll leave it there, but what did you make of the Johnny Fischer fight, if you caught the Thomas Carty one, and this embarrassment lay-down Sally by Eric Molina? Let's not see that guy again. Alen Babic advances. He remains unbeaten. What do you make of it all? Drop a comment, loud and often, hit like, hit subscribe, follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. I'm out.